They mocked her every day without realizing she was the one person who could change everything. The boardroom of Remington Global was alive with chatter that morning. Polished shoes clicked against the marble floor. Expensive suits rustled as executives gathered around the glossy oak table. Their conversations were full of numbers, projections, and profits. Not one of them noticed the cleaning lady quietly moving along the edges of the room, her cart squeaking softly as she dusted the shelves and polished the table corners. To them, Maria was background noise, her presence acknowledged only through dismissive glances or impatient sighs. She was in her early 60s, her hands calloused from years of scrubbing floors, her uniform neatly pressed but faded from countless washes. Maria had worked at Remington Global for more than a decade, long enough to know every crack in the marble, every stain on the carpet, every cruel word spoken when people thought she wasn't listening. And there had been plenty of those. Just last week, as she leaned down to pick up a coffee cup left behind, one executive chuckled under his breath. "Shouldn't we get someone younger around here? This one looks like she'll break her back soon." Another had smirked. "She's lucky she even has a job. Do you think anyone else would hire her?" Maria didn't react. She never did. She let their words wash over her like water over stone, quiet, steady, patient. But deep inside, each insult pressed into her like a weight, a growing mountain she carried silently. Before we go any further, if this is your first time watching one of our videos, we'd love for you to hit that subscribe button. Your support means the world to us, and it helps us bring you even more powerful stories. Stick with us till the very end. And if the story moves you, drop your thoughts in the comments and share it with a friend. Now let's begin. Remington Global's headquarters towered above the city skyline, a symbol of wealth and dominance. Yet inside its glass walls, the culture was ruthless. The CEO, Charles Benton, ruled like a king, arrogant, decisive, feared by everyone beneath him. His booming voice silenced rooms. His sharp remarks cut through conversations. And his cold smirk left no doubt who was in charge. He believed loyalty was bought with fear, and anyone beneath the executive floor barely deserved acknowledgement. Maria had seen it all. The whispered deals, the inflated expense reports, the quiet firings of employees who dared to speak up. She saw young assistants cry in the bathroom after being berated. She saw honest managers pushed out while schemers climbed higher. She heard executives laugh about cutting staff while awarding themselves record bonuses. And she was there the day Charles Benton looked straight at her after an intern spilled coffee near his shoes. "Clean this up," he snapped, his eyes full of disdain, as though she was the one who had made the mistake. That moment stayed with her, not because of the insult, but because of the fear in the intern's eyes. But what no one knew, what not a single executive could imagine, was that Maria wasn't just a cleaning lady. After her husband passed unexpectedly years ago, she had inherited something unimaginable, a majority stake in Remington Global. Bought quietly during its early years by her late husband, when no one believed in its future. The shares had grown over time until they became controlling power. Maria never flaunted it. She wasn't the type to chase attention. Instead, she chose to watch, to listen, to learn, and to wait for the moment when her silence would end. That moment came faster than anyone expected. It was a late evening when Maria overheard two senior executives drinking in the lounge, their voices loud with arrogance. "The layoffs next month will make our numbers shine." One of them laughed. "Half these people think they're safe, but they're not. They're replaceable. Dead weight." Maria froze behind the door, her hand gripping her rag so tightly her knuckles went white. These weren't numbers. These were lives, families, rent, bills, and children. And to them, it was nothing more than a joke. That night, Maria sat at her small kitchen table, a cup of tea steaming by her side as she opened a notebook. Page after page, she wrote every unethical practice she had seen, every cruel remark, every truth buried under arrogance. By morning, she had outlined a plan. The week of the board meeting arrived. Remington Global buzzed with anticipation. Executives spoke confidently about record profits, and the CEO, Charles, strutted through the hallways with his usual arrogance, unaware of the storm about to unfold. Maria entered the boardroom that morning just as she always did, her cart rolling softly behind her. No one looked her way. They never did. She set a pitcher of water on the side counter. Then instead of leaving, she straightened her back and turned toward the table. "Excuse me." Her voice cut the air like a blade. The room stilled. Charles looked up, annoyance flashing across his face. "We're in the middle of a meeting," he said dismissively. "Unless you're here to wipe the table, I suggest you leave." Maria's hands did not tremble. Her gaze did not falter. "That's exactly why I'm here." She stepped forward, placing a thick folder on the polished oak table. The logo of Remington Global stamped in gold across the front. Confused murmurs rose. "What is this?" asked one of the board members. Maria's voice was calm but firm. "This is proof. Proof of the corruption, the unethical firings, the inflated numbers, the way this company has been poisoned from the top down." Charles let out a booming laugh. "You've lost your mind," he sneered. "You're just the cleaning lady. Who do you think you are?" Maria met his glare with steady eyes. "No, Mr. Benton, I am the majority shareholder of Remington Global, and today, I'm firing you." The words thundered through the boardroom. Silence fell. Jaws dropped. Eyes widened. Charles's confident smirk collapsed, replaced by disbelief. "You're lying," he stammered. But Maria opened the folder, revealing signed documents, shareholder records, financial evidence she had gathered over months. The board members leaned forward, flipping pages, whispers of shock filling the room. "You've all allowed this company to rot," she continued, her voice unwavering. "But today, that ends. I have the votes, I have the power, and I will use it." Chaos erupted. Charles argued desperately, his voice rising with anger. But one by one, the board members turned toward Maria, the truth undeniable. Within minutes, the vote was called, and in front of the same people who had mocked her for years, Maria stripped the CEO of his title. Security escorted him from the room, his protests echoing uselessly down the hall. The boardroom was left in stunned silence. The woman they had dismissed, ignored, and mocked now stood as the most powerful person in the building. Maria's expression was calm, her hands steady. She did not smile. She did not gloat. She simply gathered her folder and said quietly, "This company belongs to its people, not to arrogance." The news spread like wildfire. By the next morning, whispers filled every corner of the building. The cleaning lady fired the CEO, the majority shareholder all along. Awe, respect, and even guilt painted the faces of those who had once mocked her. But Maria didn't linger in their admiration. She returned not with a mop, but with a clipboard, determined to rebuild what had been broken. Her first acts were simple but profound. Raises for cleaning staff, improved benefits for overlooked employees, third-party oversight for HR complaints, transparent ethics policies. Soon, she introduced town hall meetings where every voice could be heard, from janitors to junior analysts. Maria listened carefully, taking notes, ensuring no one was invisible anymore. Slowly, Remington Global began to change from within. For the first time, employees felt valued and protected. One afternoon, a young assistant stopped her in the hallway, the same intern who had once spilled coffee. "Thank you," he said softly, "for everything." Maria smiled. "Not just for me, for all of us." Outside the skyscraper windows, the city glowed in the afternoon sun. Maria paused, looking up at the tower that once hid her in plain sight. She had proven what few believed possible, that patience, courage, and integrity could outshine arrogance and cruelty. If you believe stories like this should be told, hit that subscribe button, share this video with someone who needs to hear it, and drop a comment below, because your voice matters too. Life often mocks the quiet, the invisible, the underestimated. But Maria's story reminds us that the most overlooked person in the room might just hold the greatest power.